Welcome to our next episode of Did You Know, which we are filming during our 85th anniversary year here at the church. And we've been sharing little known facts about the church and about people in our church. And so last week we were discussing the Vietnamese family, the refugee family that we used to host here at the church. Maybe you didn't know that back in the 70s. And Judy White walked in. And so she was able to share with us a little bit more about that, what that was like. So we decided to speak with her and her daughter, Suzy Deuce, to learn a little bit more about that time period. So Did You Know? Welcome, Judy White and Suzy Deuce. We're very excited. Welcome, thanks for coming.
We're happy to be here.
Well, before we start, we must know, Linda, what is that?
That is my first name. My name is Linda Judith, and if you were born in the South, you're not called by your first name, you're called by your middle name.
Interesting, so you've always been gone by Judy, because we were looking up your record here. Mm-hmm. What was your maiden name?
Swilly.
Swilly, and we're like, who is Linda Swilly?
She's the sister of Billy Swilly.
Oh,
I'm serious.
Interesting. Billy Swilly, that's so interesting.
I don't know how he grew up.
Like, was that on purpose, like to torture him?
Well, he was a junior. He was a William, but that, yeah.
Billy Swilly. We won't call you Linda, but tell us about how long you have been here. What brought you here?
I moved to San Diego in 1959, and I lived with my brother and sister-in-law who lived up on Tennyson. My brother took me to church because I was a Methodist, and so he took me all the way down to Ocean Beach. And I realized then that that was not going to last because he was not churched. And so I walked down here to William Press. I was met at the door by Elmer Jones, who was an associate pastor at the time. He said, "Would you like to volunteer in our nursery because we really need somebody?" And I said, "Well, sure."
Well, then you obviously raised your family here. So tell us some of your earliest memories.
Well, I would say probably my earliest memory here was being in the nursery. I worked in the nursery as a teenager, brought my kids back to the nursery. My kids were fourth generation because my dad grew up here.
So I know there's a ton of things we could talk about with you in this church, but specifically you were engaging last week and we were here and you were talking about your memories of the Vietnamese family.
But my first memory of it really was they had, what did we say, 5 kids, I think?
Yeah, a lot, yeah.
And the youngest of those, they were in the same grade and they became fast friends. And I don't think I even knew much about that until then I came home from school and they were sitting on her bedroom floor playing with their Barbies, Barbie dolls. And I remember walking into the living room, looking into my mom's room, but I thought this is so the way it should be.
Currently, we now are also housing a refugee family from Haiti. It's a new thing, and we didn't know we were, at the time, operating in the vein of the past. We didn't know the church, we discovered that in the process. Well, what would you, since you did know them and you interacted with them, what would you say to our congregation now? Encourage them in that?
This is certainly not anything I would make up. I mean, everybody knows this. We have a lot more to gain than the people we're helping. I mean, we're helping them in certain ways, but we can learn so much more. And I think that's all it takes, is to learn more about other people. And then a lot of our problems would be solved then.
We tend to live our lives as an us and them, but if we look at it in that fascinating way, I was always fascinated with them. You know, if we could just have that same innocence that children do and be more question-based than accusatory, you know, that to me would make a big difference.
Well, I appreciate you coming and sharing with us about this, because since I discovered this, I found this to be a very fascinating part of our history at the church, and that we're still in that vein. One of the most tangible, real things of the scriptures that we can actually live into.
Absolutely.
Welcome the stranger.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Did You Know?